So I just wanted to welcome. Just wanted to welcome everyone to this course. So we're going to get started. Okay, so it's great to see a large group here. I just wanted to do a quick check on my audio. Want to make sure that you can hear me as well. So what we're going to do in today's session is just get familiar with using this online environment to practice learning R together. And this is really to complement all the work that you've done in the online lessons to date. So I'm just going to fast forward to the next slide. And before we go any further, I want to make sure that everyone can hear me and we can hear each other. So we have a few guidelines that we'll be using in this online environment using GoToTraining. And we just want to make sure that we're being courteous to others. And we do that by just making sure that our microphone is muted. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to unmute everyone's microphone now. And then you'll have a chance to click on your microphone and actually mute yourself. And so in this class, what we're going to do is kind of have a democratic way of communicating in this environment. And so anytime that you want to speak or say something, you'll have the ability to raise your hand. And I can call on you and then you can freely speak. We also have some other ways that we'll be able to communicate in GoToTraining as well. So a key way that we'll be communicating is through text chat. So if you open the text chat turnbuckle in your GoToTraining control panel, you'll see where my mouse is right now. And here you can see the chat window. So if you can hear me, just simply type yes in the chat window. Okay, I see Essel, Albert, Mark, thank you, Barath, Carlos, thank you, great. Okay, so this is a very, very simple way for us to communicate. So I might ask a question like, does anybody have any questions for, on this particular topic? You can simply type in your answer to the question or raise questions and feel free to answer others as they ask questions and make comments. And so this is really a place for us to learn and study together. The assumption is that you've had some experience already with R before coming to this live online session. So you should have like RStudio installed and all of that by this point. Okay, so just a few more things on the communication guidelines. Let's move over to the next slide. Like I said, throughout this class, anytime you have a question or if there's something that you don't understand, the really best way is to use the text chat. And then I may, call on you, or you can raise your hand, and then you can, verbally explain, your point or your question. And that will be a really nice way for us to easily have a discussion, because it's going to be hard to have a discussion just in text. And so we have the affordance of using, audio and video in this session. So we should really take advantage of that. And this is like one of the first times that I get to meet everyone in the class before our live face-to-face meeting. So this is kind of a chance for all of us to get to know each other, for you to get to know one another and see who's in your class. A few things that you just want to think about. I like to use the webcam. I don't use it all the time, but it'll be nice when we go around the virtual room and do introductions to have your webcam on. Just make sure your lighting is accurate and you're like comfortable with where your camera position is and the background image. So I'll just like turn mine on so you can see that, you know, I've kind of thought about like where I'm sitting and things like that. Okay, so I'll just turn mine off for now. Good. And so I would just encourage everybody to turn on their cameras now, and let's just see if we can just see each other. And we can also see what that looks like in the Go to Training interface. So there's just a little like turnbuckle here called webcam, and then you can just share your webcam. So I'll just wait for folks to turn on their webcam. Okay, so I see a few people have cameras. And just make sure that you actually enable your webcam. Okay, so I think somebody just joined the meeting, so I'm just going to mute because I hear a little bit of background noise. Okay, so at this point, everyone is muted. So the camera isn't working for you. Okay, so when we go around and do introductions, that can be a great time for us to test. So thank you, Cindy and Heidi, for those comments. It's a great use of the text chat. Like you're trying to work on something, it's not working out, raise it in the text chat, and we'll try it out then when we all go around the room to speak. It might be because you're not speaking right now that the webcam isn't on. All right, so we'll have a time to test that out, but just make sure that you do try to enable it when you clicking the share webcam button when we do the class introductions. And then, you know, just finally make sure that with your audio that your speakers are turned on, or you're using a earphones, the volume's raised. And if you're on the telephone, instead of using voice over IP, just make sure that you mute your telephone as well. Sometimes you get some background noise and it can be like a little disruptive. So, and I always have the ability to do that as the organizer of this session. However, it's good just that you know how to do it and you kind of take responsibility for that. So now it's time for just some brief introductions, and it will give us all a chance to test out our audio and our video and just to get to know each other. And I won't do this during every online session, so this is one out of the 3 you're going to be attending for the R portion of this course. However, I really like to do it because we have such a small group. Only 17, participants here, and I have a test account and myself. So there's really only 15 students here. So we have a little bit of time, and it's really nice to try to get to know one another. And usually, all the classes, you'll be in a group of 70 students. So this is really a nice time to be in a smaller group. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about me. Obviously, I'm your professor for half of this course, which is focused on learning R, the programming language. And so we'll be learning R in the pre-module, and then we'll have a time to meet in person for about 4 hours in class. And from there, we will you'll have a little work that you'll be doing in class and to finish up as part of your post-module. And so the point of this class is really to make sure that you are successful in learning R. It is meant to be designed for you to be successful, and so there's no tricks. We're not trying to get a certain type of curve or make it unnecessarily difficult for you. The idea is that we all come from many different backgrounds and have many different experiences with programming languages, and this is one that I find that is not something that everybody is already well versed in. Some people may have programming experience in Python and Java and other languages, but maybe not necessarily R. So the idea is really just to make sure that you feel really comfortable doing a little work in R, some computation in R, and also writing your own scripts and programs, and be able to kind of apply that knowledge to the statistics portion of this course. And then as you move on in the MSBA program, other courses that will allow you to implement many different, data mining models, sophisticated statistical models, linear programming models in this environment. And so this is really supposed to be a building block. So we want to make sure that you get this right and you're learning good habits along the way. I'll give you just a little brief introduction about myself. So I started actually as an undergraduate in Stern, and so I'm kind of full circle. So now I'm a professor here, and so I focused on studying information systems, and that's the department that I work in now as a faculty member. And many of your colleagues will be in the information systems group that will teach you really important aspects of business analytics. And so I was there studying information technology in the mid-1990s during the dot-com era. And it was a really interesting time because business operations and businesses overall were being transformed by e-commerce activities, and that have allowed for things like mass customization, personalization, disintermediation. And it's been a really fascinating area to observe IT in the mid-1990s, and then to move on to study and teach this in a business school. I took my passion for technology and was looking for opportunities in higher education to actually do something called personalized learning. And so a big area of mine, if you've kind of read my bio, is online education, learning science, educational technology. These kind of areas are interchangeable, at least to the public, but they really are distinct fields of study. And I did that, and through my work and research at Columbia University, I led development of some major IT projects that were designed for learners. And I eventually went on to get my doctorate in this area of learning science or educational technology. And my primary audience of my work were always students, and that's why the format that we're even learning in today is something that is a real passion of mine, and that I brought to this MSBA program to be able to kind of connect with students in an online environment in a way that's interactive. And we haven't had any interactions yet, but we will. Don't worry. This will be a very interactive session. And so I came back to NYU to lead their e-education effort, and the idea was to have any qualified student anywhere in the world be able to study and learn at NYU. So my work at Stern is really focused in two areas. It's business analytics, like programming, data visualization are the two courses that I teach in this program. And I also teach courses in social media and operations management from an IT perspective. And so I teach a couple courses with the program director here, Professor Chernoff, one called Operations in Panama, where I just came back from a week-long trip in Panama a few days ago, and back in New York where it's really cold, and it was 95 degrees there. So I teach a course there. We study businesses and we study the operation of the canal, and many, many fascinating aspects of how businesses run and how to do business in Panama, which is a very unique country. And I also teach another course called Operations in New York City, and this course is pretty interesting, and it emphasizes a way of teaching and learning that I really support by giving students real experiences and field work. And so we learn on the site of real businesses. So we visit companies like Amazon, and we study their Amazon Prime Now operation, or we'll go to a 3D printing company called Shapeways and see how they, serve their customers and manufacture individual products in a 3D printing approach. So that's just a little bit about me, and this is one of my favorite courses to teach because it's really fascinating to be able to analyze data using various methods and the technologies and the methods and packages that R has to offer. And it's just such a powerful environment. And I always find that learning programming, if you're new to it or if you're old to it, if you've been doing it forever, there's definitely a lot of reward when you get things right. And when you don't get things right, it's usually pretty straightforward how to begin the process of troubleshooting. Not always to find the answer, but to start uncovering where you might have went wrong. And programming environments like RStudio give a lot of feedback about what went wrong, and you might have had that experience already. So I just wanted to say thank you for being here and being the brave 17 or so students to join me for our first session. So what we're going to do now is I'd like to go around the virtual room and allow you to introduce yourself. And I really, we don't want to take too much time on this, but I really want to know a little bit about who you are. So tell us your name, tell us where you're located, and if you're working, what your job title is. So I'm going to just start with my list of students here. And so why don't we start with Brayton, if he's online. So the first thing you want to do is just unmute yourself and make sure your webcam's going, and tell us a little bit about yourself. Okay, so we're going to try this out. If everybody can just mute themselves, except Brayton.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shamika Brayton, and I work for a cybersecurity company called Sphere Technology Solutions. I'm the director of product development here, and basically what we do, we focus mostly on data security in the cybersecurity space, helping our clients find anomalies with analyzing their infrastructure and finding anomalies and sensitivities within the organization through the data that they collect through various applications and platforms. And then I also build a homegrown product that allows them to compile all that data in one space and assist them with monitoring their environment going forward. I'm glad to be here. I look forward to learning as much as I possibly can and meeting everyone.
Well, thank you, Shamika, and I apologize for calling you by your last name. My list was covered, and I thought so. Anyway, really nice to meet you. Can you remind me where you're located?
I'm located in Jersey City, in New Jersey.
Oh, great! So not too far away.
No, rather close.
Okay, thank you. So next, why don't we hear from Cindy?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Cindy.
Awesome. I'm Cindy Smith. I'm located in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm originally from New York City. I grew up there in Lower East Side, but spent the last 10 years in California. I also spent about 5 years at Google in the technology space, always in operations. but wanted to move into the startup space. So I went into an insurance startup, and now I'm currently in a marketplace lender fintech startup in the Bay Area. So very excited for this course and meeting everyone.
Thanks, Cindy. Great to meet you too. So next, why don't we hear from James?
Hey everyone, my first name is James, but I actually go by Randy. But I'm a analytics manager for Vail Resorts in Denver, Colorado. And so my company just owns a lot of ski resorts across, well, now the world. We were primarily a US company until we just acquired Whistler Blackcomb just a few months ago. And yeah, in my role, I basically support analytics for our finance part of the organization, as well as some of our operations, and really excited for this course and to meet all you guys.
Great, thanks Randy, great to meet you. Okay, so next we have Shinmaya.
Yeah, hi, hello everyone. This is Chinmaya here from Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Pretty far away from most of you guys, I guess. I'm currently working with Silver Lake Access, which is a banking software company, as their Director Solutions Consulting. So mostly my clients are BFSI clients, wherein we try and understand their processes and see how we can help automate some of their processes. So essentially, that's very much the part of the job. And yes, equally excited to join you all and looking forward to meeting you all.
Thank you, Chinmaya. It's amazing that we have people here from just across the river in New Jersey and Dubai, and I'm sure as we hear from others, people are located all around the world, and this is really truly a global program. And I always think it's amazing to just be able to meet everybody virtually before we meet at NYU. Great, thank you.
Thanks.
So next we have Essel.
Hi everyone, I'm Essel Madrid. I'm a CPA by education, but ever since I graduated, I was in management consultancy. I tried entrepreneurship in my country. So I'm originally from the Philippines. I started my own rain boot business in my country for a few years. And then eventually I moved into supply chain. As of now, I'm the inventory control manager for 350 stores of the Vitamin Shop across the US. And I'm based in New Jersey, closer to North Bergen, New Jersey. I'm very excited to join this course and meet like-minded people.
Well, Essel, it's so good to meet you, and it's interesting. There's a lot of ops folks in this class so far. That's very cool. That's very cool. I'm actually teaching a session on inventory management next week for our MBA students.
Cool.
So.
Yeah.
Well, great meeting you. Great meeting you. Thanks. Next, we have Alexandro.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
My name is Alejandro Celis. I'm from Colombia, Medellin. I co-founded a couple of years ago an e-commerce based here in Colombia that we sell fashion accessories. And then we later moved on creating business analytic programs that we help other e-commerce here in Colombia as well to analyze the customer behaviors and how to communicate efficiently with them. So I have jumped into the whole business analytics like 2 years ago as well, and I'm very excited to be here with you.
Likewise. Well, welcome. Next, we have Theophilus. Looks like Theophilus wrote his introduction in the text chat. I don't know if you wanted to, just test out your microphone and just tell us a little bit about yourself. But if maybe you can't, that's fine. Just let us know in the text chat. Okay, thank you. So it looks like he can't use his mic right now, and a great use of the text chat. Thank you and welcome. So next we have Albert.
Hello, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Hello. Well, this is Albert. I am actually based in Switzerland, in Lausanne, in the capital, Olympic capital city. I work as a financial planning and analysis manager at Nestle at the HQ, and I work for a portion coffee business. So basically, I'm in charge of developing all the financial strategy for the brand. We launch global wise at around 84 countries, and I have also a background in management consulting. I started my career at a Big Four, and I worked there for almost 4 years in financial advisory.
Well, welcome, Albert.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Bararth.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me well?
We can. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Bharat Narayan. I'm located at Sacramento, very close to the Bay Area, where Cindy and some more folks are located as well. Yeah, I'm actually in the business of technology consulting throughout my career, and I have, including last 6-7 years or so with Accenture, and been adventurous enough to do something on my own, the consulting, taking my practice analytics focused consulting practice so that I can focus on in and around Sacramento and Bay Area regions instead of traveling cross country through Accenture. So I'm actually doing independent consulting for the state of California right now, doing a strategy and roadmap analytics for the Department of Transportation, and very, very excited to be part of this group. And I have some familiarity with but looking forward to learning more.
Great. Well, welcome. Thank you, Gerard. Next we have, let's see who has not gone yet. Tyler.
Hi, my name is Tyler Flint. I'm located in Boise, Idaho, where I work at Micron Technology. And my current role is a program manager on our IT enterprise data science team. And my role on that team is really kind of managing our portfolio of projects, as well as helping demonstrate the business value of those projects, kind of translating the technical into the practical. Prior to that, I've spent a lot of time in the field of auditing, in public accounting, as well as in industry, and also a little bit of time as a controller for one of our product divisions here at Micron. And if you're not familiar with Micron, we design and manufacture memory, so like DRAM, NAND, that type of thing.
Oh, wow. Actually, my first computer was a Micron.
So my first PC was too, and that was a long time ago when we had a division called Micron Electronics, and that we've had a lot of divisions of all sorts of different things, but we've seemed to stick with DRAM and NAND and NOR and that type of thing. So, but very, very much looking forward to the next 14 months.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we also have like an MSB alum that works for Micron. I don't know if you know him. But...
Yeah, he's my boss, actually.
Oh, okay. He was, I think, from our inaugural class. So he was one of our first graduating classes.
Yeah, he's very passionate about the program.
Great. That's great to hear. Well, welcome. Next up, we have Carlos.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey, so my name is Carlos Arias. I'm the Data Science and Analytics Director at Algorithm. It's like a small startup. It's located in Philadelphia. We are dedicated to developing software as a service, mostly for social impact in different nonprofits and programs like youth development. I'm a statistician, and I'm located in Bogota, but I travel, Bogota, Colombia, and I travel a lot to Philadelphia and New York for my work.
Oh, wonderful. Are you in Bogota now?
Yeah, right now in Bogota. Yes.
Great. So I think 2 people from Colombia. Wonderful.
I think we're actually 3 or more.
Oh, there are 3 or more. Okay. That's great. It's a beautiful country. So next is we have up is Vinod.
Hey, Kristen, it's Vinod. My full name is Vinod Vishnath Nair. I go by Vinod Nair. I am located, I live in Denver, Colorado. I'm originally from India. I came to the States back in 2007. Prior to that, I was working in India, Mumbai, as well as in Bangalore. Here in the States, I moved across multiple cities. My current company where I work is CenturyLink. It's the 3rd largest networking company. I'm a senior manager, data architecture, managing the SAP HANA portfolio. SAP HANA is an in-memory database on the SAP suite of products. I started my career as a programmer. My core background is data warehousing, data modeling, and my role from a consulting standpoint is more of an enterprise architect, go to the customers, building the roadmap end to end, taking them from an on-premise to cloud journey, as well as bridging the gap on analytics, building a digital platform, so on. So it's great to be here. Looking forward for the program. I did had the opportunity to work on a couple of integrations with R on one of the hospital readmissions program, where we were able to implement R and integrate that to the big data analytics and get some good insights. Also had worked on MATLAB and other predictive programming languages. So, very excited about the program and looking forward for the fun for next 14 months.
Absolutely. Well, welcome, Vinod. Thank you. So next we have Yanni.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, welcome.
Hi. Currently I'm located in Los Angeles, California. But prior to that, I was working as the head of marketing department for healthcare and safety company responsible for Southeast Asia countries. And I've been working several years in pharmaceutical industry in Asia before. Yeah, nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you. Welcome. Next, Heidi, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Great. So my name is Heidi Binder-Matsuo. I am originally from California. I'm now located just outside of Boston in Massachusetts. I have a background in psychology, actually, and I spent a number of years working in a laboratory at NASA Ames, supporting decisions for who to send to Mars, how to train and select. And from there, I jumped to Google and worked for 6 years on their people analytics team. and kind of in the field of organizational psychology specifically. And I'm really, really passionate about making people decisions based on data and analytics. And currently, I'm working in a startup called Appos that was started by my husband, in fact, also a former Googler. And I'm a product manager there, building a product that completely automates the reporting side of survey administration. So yeah, I'm super excited to be in this course and learning R. I consider myself a newbie, and I look forward to learning from everyone. Thank you.
Great, thank you, thank you. Next we have Mark.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Mark.
Mark here. I'm currently located in South Florida and Austin, Texas. I'm working with a stealth startup in fintech that provides a platform for small businesses to trade their accounts receivable. Ironically, the entire founding team is part of the NYU Stern Alumni Association, and that's all by chance. As you can imagine, credit and fraud analytics play a big role, as well as blockchain and smart contracts.
Great. Well, welcome, Mark. Thank you. Did I miss anybody? I think I got everyone. Okay, because I have a list of people who registered, but I think some people decided not to come to this session, and some people decided to sign up maybe today. Great. Well, welcome everyone. It was really great to hear about your backgrounds, like super impressive. I mean, this is a really impressive group of students with such a degree of work experience in different industries and different skills. Part of what you're going to be working on in this program is a capstone project, and you'll hear lots about that. But it's going to be amazing when you start forming teams, and just this is even a way for you to start thinking of who you might want to work with on those projects. So just to give you that sense of how to get to know one another. You also probably want to think about how you're going to introduce yourself, because you'll probably have to do it another 35 times between now and the beginning of your classes in New York City at NYU. And so just so we can learn some different dimensions about who you are and things that you've done, and that it's really exciting to just hear months in advance who you are and what you're interested in and your excitement for the program. So appreciate you sharing. So I just want to get back to our subject for today, which is R. And the point of this session, and I mentioned this earlier, so if a few people kind of came in late, that this is really to ensure that you are successfully learning how to use R at a basic level. So this is not an advanced course at all. The idea, again, is to ensure success. There's nothing punitive about this course. Everybody should be, scoring, really high scores at the end of the lessons. And the idea here of these online sessions is to provide you with practice and to get to know one another. And to answer your questions. And so you don't have to wait, days for an answer. If you email, which is also a great way, we have a TA for the course, and myself, and we have a discussion forum. So there's lots of ways that you can get help when you need it. But it's also nice sometimes just to ask those questions as they come to you in a live environment. So we're going to do 2 more of these sessions after this one, and I'm sure you've already signed up for those. So we're going to do one more thing before we kind of jump into R. And what I'm doing here is I'm going to put a URL in the text chat. I'm just going to ask you to take, like 3 or 4 minutes to fill out this form. And it's just a quick survey. And I just want to have a sense of, be honest, what sessions you've reviewed in the online portion of the course, the pre-module, what exercises that you've completed to date, what your prior experience using R is, and if you have any questions. So I'm gonna use this just to kind of count for your attendance, even though I know who's here already, but also just to have a sense of your background and where you're coming from. as you're filling this out, I'm just going to keep talking for a few minutes. I mean, the idea here is so I'm able to then customize the session on the fly, knowing what your background is essentially. So it should only take, a minute or two. And what I'll do in the meanwhile is bring up the results. Okay, waiting for about 6 more people to enter their responses in. Okay, so if you could just finish up, that would be great. Just waiting for 5 more people.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I lost connection, audio connection for a while, and I kind of got lost in this last point.
Okay, so if you just go to the text chat, you'll see a URL for you to fill out a form.
On the chat on this,
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so if you haven't filled it out, I would really encourage you to fill it out. I'm trying to kind of get a collective sense of the class. And so I noticed that there are only 10 people that have filled this out, and there are 15 students here. So if you're having an issue, just send me a text chat for whatever reason, but it's probably prudent that we move on. So you can continue filling it out. And what I'm going to show right here is the summary of responses. And it looks like we did get 15. So maybe I was, and from everyone. And so I just wanted to share the results with the class, because just for everybody to have a sense of where we are. So guess what? not everybody has completed every session, so you're not behind. So I'd like to show that the answer to the first question. So it looks like, most people have completed like session 1 and 2, which was recommended before you take, you take this online session that you've already completed session 1 and 2. Want to make sure that you have R installed and R Studio. Otherwise, it's going to probably be difficult for you to do all of that while we're going over some programming in R. But you're always welcome to come back and attend another session. Just make sure you sign up. It's totally fine. And some people have moved on to session 3. Great, 2 of you. And then when we look at the exercises that you've completed, it looks like 80% of the people have completed the exercises from session 1, and about 50% of the people session 2. Great. And then my favorite part of this survey is your experience in learning R. And so we have one person who's an expert. Okay, so I have a competitor in this class, somebody that can teach this as well. So that's wonderful. I'll bring you on as the teaching fellow. So that's wonderful. We have 2 people that are frequent users. Some people about 4 people are familiar with R, but have only used it a few times. Some people are familiar with R, but never used it. And then we have about a quarter of the people in the class, this is their first introduction to R. And I like to show this, and this distribution isn't skewed in any way. It really does represent what I see from the entire population of the course, that about 50% of the people have never really used R. They might be familiar but haven't used it, and another half have used it. And so that's why this content here is designed at a level for everyone to be successful in those classes where you're going to be doing modeling and other things. I mean, those who have more experience with R will I'm sure be eager to get to that content a little bit quicker. However, I really like to make sure that everybody is feeling really comfortable with it, and this is to make you successful. Then finally, there's some questions that folks have about R. So some, and I'll read through these just to see what those questions are. Someone mentioned that R has similarities to MS Access, which this person has used a lot. Okay, so you're finding that the R websites aren't very user-friendly. That's probably a good criticism. Generally, R is really based is an open source piece of software. It's based on the work of a large community, and the websites tend to be pretty bare bones. So I understand that. We're using R Studio, which might be a little bit close to MS Access, but it's really like an integrated development environment. And when we work in the console window, which I'll demonstrate, that's really just like working in the R console window environment. It's very text heavy. Where Access you have, and Microsoft Access, you have much more of a graphical user interface. And so this might be, a little different, but it's good to be able to transfer some things that you've used from other software programs. So another question is, which projects can one use to learn a more advanced usage of R? I mean, there are so many different projects. Something that we'll learn about in class, and for those that want to learn a little bit more about R, is how to create apps using R. So applications. In addition to writing programs and manipulating data, you can create interfaces for folks to explore the data that you may have, and so that it's called Shiny. That's a wonderful package for you to kind of take your knowledge of R to a different level and create programs that are web-based. So that's a recommendation. I mean, you can build predictive models, you can build apps, you can even use R to create HTML documents and PowerPoint presentations and so many different things. But R is really built to work with data, and which is one of the reasons why we like using it so much in this program. Data is really central to how we can use R. And then the last question, being a novice in programming as well as R, how deep should I personally dive to ensure that I'm able to swim at a relatively complex aspects of R, including its application into statistics, which is yet to come. So this is really, not necessarily an easy question to answer, but one of the reasons why we have this course and it's designed how it is really to kind of show you and give you confidence in the programming language, and also kind of as you go through, you'll start finding for yourself those things that you really don't know and you need to learn more about, because you'll try to do something. You'll try to merge two data sets together and be like, oh, I don't know how to do that. And then that will be a question that might drive your further learning. And so I would say, stick with the lessons that are constructed. Watch as we talk and discuss and solve problems in this online session, and see how others solve problems, because there's not just one solution for solving a problem in a programming language. And so this will start giving you different strategies for how you can solve problems. And I think that's one of the best ways that you can take a deeper dive. And so I might ask you to, calculate, the mean of 12 variables in a data set, and you might do that by hand, one by one, and then you'll see one of your colleagues solve it with just one line of code in a function. Okay, and so this is where you start developing and moving towards expertise. And then definitely communicate with us in the class, your colleagues, your students, but also myself and our teaching fellow, and let us know what questions you have along the way. It's really important. This is you're learning a lot of this on your own. We're guiding you, and that's the idea. You're not going to learn programming by not doing it. And that's why we have these sessions. You got to do it. And I think the expert programmers in the class would probably agree. And if you agree, you can type yes in the text chat. But if you disagree, you can say no. But by doing it is really the way you're going to learn. And instead of just trying to do it all on your own, we have some structured exercises for you that will help you, so you don't have to invent your own curriculum for it. Okay, well, thanks everyone for your questions and being so honest. The next thing that we're going to do is go back to the slide presentation, and I'm going to just go over our session overview today. So what I want to make sure is that you're learning R at a successful basic level, and then and I have done that to some extent by asking you, but now I'm going to give you an opportunity to practice and kind of follow along with me, and then if there's any questions. So we're just going to move on. There's practice exercises that we're going to use here. You have a little area in your Go training panel called materials. All the materials are there. There's 2 PDF files and a CSV file, but you can also go to NYU classes and go under lessons, and you'll see materials for the R section of this course. And then there's a link saying materials for online sessions 1 through 3. And then there you'll be able to find all the materials that we'll be using for these online practice sessions. So I'll always put all the exercises here and the solutions and any data that you need. But again, if you haven't had a chance to download it, I'll always have it in the materials here in the GoT training panel. So a few things. This is what I'm talking about here is the materials section. You'll be able to find your exercises. Want to make sure that you have R installed and you open R Studio. So that would be, you should start doing that soon in the next few minutes. And then I'm going to give you a quick mini lecture on R, some really basics that I'd like you to follow along with me. And I don't have a worksheet for this part of it. It's really just to kind of get your kind of like R muscles going. And then we're going to start moving to session 1 practice exercise and session 2. So again, along the way, any questions, please use the text chat. My recommendation for how you can work in these online sessions is that you have R Studio open. So I'm mousing over that. And then you kind of minimize that window so you can see it. And then you have your practice exercise open, a PDF file. So this is the first one. And then you have your GoToMeeting control panel open here. And I know it's a lot of windows. The way to make that easier is to print out these exercises in advance. But always try to have, these windows open so you know what it is that we're working on. And this has worked really well for students in the past. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to do a quick R primer, and I also always have all the code available. So this is the answers are here. You have the link. You'll have these slides after if you want, and then at the end of the session, I'll give you the URLs once again, just so you have them. And so we're going to work with the command line interface in the console window in RStudio. So let's just look at a screenshot of RStudio. I want to describe a few things here. So this is the cursor. And this is called the console window. This is where we're typing commands in manually. We're not writing programs that are going to be executed later. Everything that we write at this command line and after we press enter will be executed. So that's one thing to know. So you can type right now like 3 plus 3 and press return, and you should get an output there. And that output should be the result of that sophisticated computation. Okay. It's too bad I can't hear you laughing when I make my cheesy jokes. Okay, so this area here that I'm mousing over is a place where you're going to write your what's called R scripts, your programs. Okay, and if you haven't gone to lesson 3 yet, you probably have not heard about R scripts, and if you have no experience in R. So, but this is we're going to write our code in advance in basically like a text document, and that's this area of RStudio here. Here is where we're going to see all of our different variables that we've either created or and data that we've imported. And here is where we can see a lot of our visualizations. So when you take the data visualization course with me, I believe it's in Shanghai in Module 3. It's a course that I teach. We'll be doing a lot more in R in terms of visuals, and but you'll be doing some visualizations again in this course. So a few things. So you might just want to follow along in your R console right now, but just the differences between input and output. So our input here, again, this greater than sign represents the command prompt, and our input here is, we're adding 2 numbers together, 3 plus 2, and output is 5. And this is kind of saying that this is the first element of the first line is 5. That's why it's in brackets here. But that represents your output, okay, the result of the computation. And this is simply using R as a calculator. So if we wanted to try another problem, we'd say, dividing 100 by 5, and then our output would be that computation. It would be 20, and so on and so forth. So just just recognizing the difference between input and output, really important. And we've used the addition operator already, but there are many other arithmetic operators that you can use in R. And today we're really using R as a calculator, a very simple calculator, and these are some of the operators that we will be working with. One important thing in any programming language is the use of variables. And so variables are simply values that can change. And so we can create, when we name our variables, we can name them, we can name a variable called computer. We can name a variable called X, as in this case. And we use the assignment operator to assign a value to a variable. And that value can change when we update that variable. So instead of referencing, a number directly, like the number 3, we might reference the variable X. And this allows us to, throughout our program that we may be writing, that we can always reference that variable and then change it as necessary. So here we go, just a description. So the X is the name of the variable. We have something called the assignment operator. Okay, so this is the less than sign and the minus sign together right next to each other. It's known as the assignment operator. And then this is the value of 3 is referenced in the variable X. Part of what we do in this part of the course is not just look at simple computation and how to use R as a calculator, but also learn the language of programming, right? So it's just calling something a variable, looking at things that are operators and what values mean, okay? And so the idea is that you can start speaking and thinking like a programmer, not just programming. And then using the language of a program. It's very, very important. And then the equal sign is also an assignment operator. So we can use the previous assignment operator as shown here, or we can use the equal sign. Why are there two? Well, I kind of explain it in lesson 1, but there are two because in most programming languages, the assignment operator is represented by an equal sign. In R, we have this kind of special symbol that if you program in other languages, this might not be as intuitive to you. They're the same; they mean the same thing. When you look at R documentation, you will always see this operator used for assignment. Okay. Again, this is just describing what each of the elements are that you're looking at. So why don't you try it? Why don't you assign a value of 42 to the variable named y? So if you go ahead and do that in your console window in RStudio, you'll do something that looks like this, right? So I hope that you're following along. I'm monitoring the text chat along the way. We'll take another problem. So if you ever want to access that value later, simply at the command prompt type y, and then what will be returned is the value that's assigned to that variable called y. Okay? You can do further examples. So now we can use y because we created it as a variable, and we can do things with it. So we can add 2 to y, okay? And then adding 2 to y is 44. But I have a question. After you add 2 to y, what's the value of y? You can type your answer in the text chat. So my question is, what's the value of y after I add 2 to it? Heidi, correct, still 42. Why? Right, because Heidi says that math does not change the value of y. There's no assignment yet from Theophilus. Thank you. All good answers. Right, so we haven't actually stored the value of 44 in y. Y is still 42. We've just added 2 to it, almost like saying 2 plus 2, right? Or 42 plus 2 is 44. Now, but we have not restored that value, 44, or reassigned that to y. That's why. So we haven't changed the value of it. Okay, and so here we can raise y to the second power. You can try doing that. And this is that caret, okay, and that's above the 6 key, the number 6 key. So if we wanted to update a variable, we could do something like this. So we're saying that y, the value of 42 is stored in y. And then let's check out the next line of code. So what we're doing is here, we read it like right, and then we go left. So we say y minus 1. Okay, so if y is 42, so we say 42 minus 1, that's 41. And we store the value of 41 in y. Okay, and then if we print that out, we can see that the value is 41. And that's how we change and update a variable. Hope that's clear. Okay, so this is another quick activity. Assign a value of 42 to the variable y and assign that value to x. So if you've done that, type your answer in the text chat. Okay, so first we want to do the assignment of 42 to y, and then we want to assign y to x. Okay, and so what's x at this point? X is 42. So there are many different data types and structures that we use to store our data. So we talked about variables, and variables can be of many different types. And so simply a variable can be an integer, so it's a positive or a negative whole number, like 42, or 0, or negative 42. Okay, it can be a floating point number, decimal point, so this can be something that uses decimal points, okay, positive or negative. We can have something called vectors. Vectors can be of many different types, but it can be basically what's called a string of numbers. Okay, so like a column in Excel would be a vector, for instance, just to give you a visual for that. We also have other types of data types. So a Boolean. Boolean data can only be true or false, okay? And we can use Boolean operators to evaluate what we call truth and use logic to evaluate, let's say, to say, does, is X greater than Y would be a question we might have, and we'd want it to return either true or false in that particular case. We have a character data type. So anytime we use words and we put those words in quotation marks, that's known as a string or a character. Okay, so we can create a character vector, or basically a column in Excel pretty much, of the days of the week, and that would be a character vector, not just a single character variable, which would be this element, just Monday, but 3 elements, okay? There's many different types of data types. There's even a factor data type, and I got a private message from one of your students about what factors are, and I'll get to that. We have an exercise that will cover that, but a factor is also a different type of data type. So let's look at just this code real quick. So we have class. This is a function. So class will tell us what X is, and so X is a numeric. And so we use the class function to figure out the data type for our data. So class X, it returns numeric, meaning that X is a numeric data type. It's not saying integer, it's not very detailed, it's a very general data type. In this case, we're assigning the value of 1.2 to Z. Now we can check the class or the data type of Z by passing that into the function called class, and we can see it's a numeric. We can do something like, create a character, right, called book, okay, and then assign that to a variable called B. We can go ahead and print out what's in B, and we can find out that data type, that B is a character. So just to show you how that works. So anytime you're not sure what kind of data you're working with, whether it's a variable, whether it's a vector, you can always use the class function. Vectors are really a central data structure. So you can store and operate on a whole collection of numbers in one variable. Okay, think of that column in Excel. And we create vectors by using the C function, which means combined. So I can simply create a vector of numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 9. Okay, I have 6 numbers separated by commas. Okay, and you can think of these as each as different cells in Excel in one column, and I can assign that to a single variable. And then I can do calculations on that single vector, for instance, adding 2. And what it would do is X is adding 2 is being added to every single element in my vector X. And you can see the output here. 2 plus 1 is 3, 2 plus 2, 4, and so on. So why don't you go ahead and create a vector called months with the integers 1 through 12 and square that vector. This is a little word problem for you. So you're going to use the C function to create a vector called months, and you want that vector to have 12 elements, 1 through 12. So when you have that, go ahead and type your answer in the text chat for all of us to see. All right, Cindy, Tyler just gave me the output. Okay, and James. So why don't we pause here? You can notice that Cindy and James have 2 different ways of solving the same problem, and Tyler does too, and Essel. So there's a couple ways that you can do this, which is great. And so I'm giving you the same answer here. So you can either create your vector, months, and you're using the combine functions. You type values 1 through 12, that's assigned in months, or you can actually simply just use 1 through 12, and this means that I'm using the range inclusive 1 through the number 12. I want to assign to a vector called months. And then if we square that, we just use the exponent function. Okay, so that should be pretty straightforward. Now, what do we do when we want to create a vector called days with the days Monday through Wednesday? So go ahead and do that. And when you have your answer, just type it in the text chat. And a lot of the documentation in R, they're always working with data that they're creating right in the moment. Or pre-existing data sets in R. So it's really important that you get familiar with how a vector is created because it will be referenced throughout the documentation that you find in R and throughout your using it. Okay, great. So Cindy, Albert, Essel, great. And you know, I wasn't really specific. I said days Monday through Wednesday, and some people used abbreviations, some people typed out the same day, some people used lowercase, some people used uppercase. Okay, so you have to kind of know what you want to be doing. And so here's the answer for how you would do that, and also correct in what everybody typed in the text chat as well. Thanks for your participation. So I hope to see more from everyone. And then finally, I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about functions. So these are analogous to functions that you might have learned in your pre-calc class. You operate on some specific argument, and generally functions return some value, a number, a string, etc. And so I'd like to formally talk about functions because you've been using them, but want to make sure that you're aware that they're functions. And so if I want to take the square root of a number, I can use a square root function, okay? And I pass in a value into that function in between the parentheses, 25. I can also pass in a variable. I can pass in x, right? As long as it is what? It has to be numeric, okay? So if I tried to pass in book or something like that, or a character to square root, I would get an error. Okay, so functions work on specific data types, and you need to understand the function in order to understand what kind of data to give it, okay? You can use functions within functions. So I can first create, in this example here, where it says mean, I can create a vector, okay, of 5 numbers, and then I can take a mean of that vector. And so you notice how I use the nested parentheses to do that. Okay. And then there's also, other functions. So functions that operate only on strings, like toUpper. So if I pass in a string called hello world, all strings always have double quotes, and I want to capitalize every letter of that, I can use a function called toUpper, right? And then all of a sudden, the output is, hello world uppercase. Okay, and so this is a function that works on characters. Mean and square root work on numeric data types. So we're going to move into our practice exercise. We have about 20 minutes. These are pretty short. The idea is for us to work together. So I'm going to bring up my RStudio window. Want to make sure again that you have that practice exercise 1 in front of you, whether it's digital or if you have a printout. And we're going to work together on the problems. So, and I'm going to ask you along the way just to type your answers into the text chat. And if you have questions, I'm going to try to answer them. So this is exactly what I just said. Let's post it on the screen. So let's get started. I'm going to open my R so you can see what my R world looks like. It probably looks a lot different than yours because I was working on something before. So since my R console is a mess, and you might have been working in yours, and yours might look kind of messy, like data all over the place and functions. So what I like to do, if anything is in this console window, this is where I'm going to be doing all my typing, all my mathematical functions, 3 plus 3, whatever. You want to make sure you press the Control and L key together, and that will clear your console window. Okay, so now that's clean. I also like to look at my global environment here. This is where all the variables I've been working with throughout the day. And I like to use this little broom to just remove all the objects in my environment. This way I'm starting out clean. I don't have any objects, which an object is essentially could be, a variable or your data or a function that you've created. Okay. And then I have a plot here that, I was working on building, and you can either, get rid of that or just keep that on the screen. And I like just to move my window over a little bit here. Okay, so I'm working from a script that I created, and you'll have access to this script that has all the answers to our session 1 exercise. So I hope that you have the session 1 in front of you. What I'm going to do in the console window is simply say, let's work on question 1. So start working on question 1, which is essentially telling me what the answer is to the first question. And so this is meant to demonstrate the order of operations. Okay, so good. Everybody should get this answer. And so how you solve the problem is simply shown here. Not much different than what is shown in the actual question itself. Okay, but just to get you familiar with, like, just remind you of the order of operations that we want to start with our, our calculations, our parentheses, and then and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's, the next thing is, the next question is taking the absolute value of 88. And so here we can use, you can tell me the answer is going to be 88, and we can use a function called the absolute value function, okay? So that's, okay, so let's move on to question number 3. When you have your answer in your code, just type it in the text chat. Okay, so we can use the log 10 function here. Good, good. All right, just to get you familiar with using functions, why don't we do question 4? By using the exponential function. All right, now we're going to move on to question 5. Does anybody need more time? If you do, just tell me in the text chat. You can even tell me privately. Just want to make sure I'm not going, tell me if I'm going too fast or I'm going too slow. Feel free to tell me that publicly or privately in the text chat. And I'll be waiting. So as I wait for your response, we'll move on to question 5. So you have that in front of you. So begin by assigning a variable that's named year born to 1984. Create another variable called year current and set that to 2014. And then assign a variable age and compute the person's age. And then return a Boolean variable, or return a Boolean, true or false, if the person is eligible to vote in the US. Which you need to check if their age is greater than or equal to 18. So if you have that, feel free to paste your code in the text chat. And just because you see other people do it doesn't mean that you don't have to paste yours in too. I kind of want to see where everybody's at doing this. And also, again, I'll give you insights to how to solve some of these problems. All right, so why don't I share my code with you? So there's, and you're looking down at the bottom of the screen here. And so what I'll do is actually, I'll clear this. So we can start from the beginning. Okay, so my year, assigning my year born, year current, subtracting year current from year born to get age, and then evaluating age is greater than or equal to 18. Okay, good. And then so now I want to test to see if it's greater than 18, and that is true, okay? Because I'm using a Boolean operator here. Boolean operators only return values of true or false. Make sense? Okay, so we're going to move on to the next. So why don't you give question 6 a shot? So what I would like you to do is find the radius And once you've done that, share your response in the text chat. Again, I'm seeing some answers. I'm seeing how Carlos has solved the problem. Thank you. And Tyler and Essel. Jinmaya. Great. Okay, and I'll show you how I solved it. Okay, so assigning the value of 100 to a variable called area. Okay, and then I'm basically dividing area by pi. Okay, predefined variable that we didn't have to define. And then I'm taking the square root of that. And then I have to print out R to get that value. Okay. So thank you, Vinod. Why don't you take a stab at number 7? So you went to lunch and the pre-tax bill was $45.90. I want you to compute the subtotal and add New York City tax to that and compute a 15% tip and then a 20% tip on the subtotal. Okay, we have Tyler has an approach in. See, Carlos is working on this. Theophilus, Chinmaya, Essel. Okay, so let's go over it. And for anybody, if I'm going too fast, please let me know. And you can always go back to this and try it on your own. You'll have the answers as well. Okay, so we have our bill. It's 45. I'll clear my console. Okay, so here we have our bill, 45.90. Our tax rate. Okay, so now I'm doing my subtotal here. Okay, so that's my subtotal, almost $50. Then I'm going to round that because I don't like how that looks. A lot of people didn't round, so those of you who got your answers in early, make sure you round. That's always a nice thing to do. You can use the round function, pass in the value you want to round, and then the second item that you pass in is going to be the number of decimal places. Okay. And then I'm going to compute the 15% tip. Okay, and that should be $57.47. And then I'm going to compute the subtotal for the 20% tip. Okay. Now, I like to show you how I do things pretty much line by line. There's a lot of ways to make your code a lot more elegant, but for purposes of teaching and for you learning, I make everything very explicit in what I'm doing. Okay, we do one line at a time until we get to the more advanced lessons. Somebody's got a subtotal of $81. I don't know if that one, I'm gonna maybe want to check your math. So our answers are, for 20% tip, it should be $59.97 is the bill, and for 15% tip, $57.47. Good. And so Cindy, yours is good. Why don't you round that up for me? 2 decimal places. 20%. All right. Good. So this concludes our first exercise that I provided. Why don't you go ahead and open the second one, because we still have a few more minutes, and get you started with working with data. And again, along the way, if you have any questions, feel free. So I'm going to clear my console window. You have session 2, that worksheet open. And we're going to be working with a data set called winterolympic.csv. So what I'm going to do is demonstrate on how we can import that data. So what I like to do is I like to know what my working directory is in R. So I usually go ahead and find my working directory. And this is where I keep all my files, okay? And I always set my working directory. These are great commands to know. The location where your files are located, okay? You want to just make sure that your working directory is set. You can also do this in using the graphical user interface. You can say session, set working directory, and then choose your directory, okay? The reason why we do this is because when we import our data, we don't have to want to put the whole directory path here, okay? So it's good to know where your files are stored. You have 2 ways you can read in your Winter Olympic data set. You can go to this here and you can say import data set from CSV. You might get something like this. You might need to install some packages. I'm not going to do that. Or you can use this command here called read.csv, where you're reading in a CSV file, you pass in the name of the file, and you decide if it's a comma-separated file, which this is, and if it has a header. A header are those column names. And if it has a header, you definitely want to import a header and set header to true. Okay, it just means column names. And then we run that, we import our data. You'll notice over here, you see something called data. You can even double click on that and you can see the data. So that's what I love about R Studio. You can actually see the data in a nice Excel-like way, right? So you can see a lot of things about this data, a lot of characteristics about it, how many observations are here, 26. We can see how many columns there are, okay? And we can actually see the values of the data. So I always like to take, and so this is like getting to know the data. We're on question 1. When you view the data using this view data command, that automatically happened when I clicked over here on data. Okay. You can find out, like I said, a lot of characteristics about the data set. So let's go back to, I'm going to go back to my source code for session 2. And then you can look at how many variables are in the data frame by using a function called length. Okay, so we can get the length of our data, and that will tell me how many variables. It's counting the columns. Okay, and if I want to know the names of the columns, I can use a function called names, and it will give me the names of the columns. But it's just as easy to click on the data here. So Tyler is asking, when you look at the file in Excel, you see some funny characters. And so it's a CSV file. So Excel's not great at reading CSV files. It always wants you to convert them to Excel. So we're just going to be working in these comma-separated value files. So no reason to look at it in Excel. We're working strictly in R here. Okay? And I want you to kind of become familiar with looking at your data in R and not cheating and looking at it in Excel. Because Excel will start putting in those funny characters for you. But when you work and manipulate with the data in R, you're not going to have any problems. Okay, if we wanted to convert that file to an Excel file, we'd have to use a different function to read in our data, since we're using a function called, in this case, read.csv. Let me just go back to that, to read in our data file, because it's a CSV file. So I can certainly go over importing data again. There's the read.csv function is where I read in my data. That's my function. I pass in the name of my data set, and I have a few things here. If it's comma separated, which this is, and if it has a header, does it have column names? And I set that to true. Okay. And so as you're typing, let's say if I move this screen up again, if I kind of say read.csv, you see how I'm getting a little bit of information shown with the help of RStudio, what those different parameters are of that function, the file, whether it's a header set to true, and if it's separated. Okay, there's a lot more. There's a lot of other parameters, but you don't have to acknowledge all of those. Again, you can also use, which I demonstrate in, I believe, lesson 2, the import data set here. Okay, you can import the data set, and it gives you a kind of a GUI interface, like a graphical interface to import your data. You want to make sure, though, in advance that you set your working directory. So wherever that Winter Olympic CSV file is where you need to set your working directory to, or move your file to the correct directory. So I put mine on Dropbox. Okay, so I have all my exercises in Dropbox, and that's my working directory for R. You might have yours on your desktop. Okay. So if you're getting some errors, the best way is make sure you don't open the file in Excel, and then you go to import dataset here, okay? Because you might not be necessarily, you go import dataset from CSV, and I need to install a package to be able to do that right now. You might as well. So I'll need a moment to do that. Thank you, Carlos. I got your note about that. Sometimes when you do save the file, though, in Excel, you will get some errors. And so that was the comment that I meant. That's what I meant by what I said. Not just if you open it, but you will see, they will be visible in Excel. And everybody can see what Vinod has typed in for that's worked for him. You can try that as well. So once you import your data, again, you can start interrogating it in the ways that I showed you by using the length function. You can also learn some other, the names of the column by using the names function, just to practice that. In addition, you can move on to question 2 by printing the first row of data or the last row of data, or the first 5 rows of data. And so try working on that. And if you're still working on importing the data, that's okay. That's part of what we're working on here. Okay, so thank you, Chinmaya. James, answering some of the questions. I'll go over a few of them right now. You know, we can use this dim function here to tell me the number of rows and columns here. I want to print the first row of data. I use data and 1, which represents how many rows I want to show, or the number row I want to show, which is the first row, and then separated by a comma, and then this means all columns. It's almost like saying all columns that follows the comma. So I'm seeing all the columns for row 1. If I want to print the first column of data, I do the kind of opposite, right? So I say I want to show all observations right before the comma, and then I want to show just the first row, which is rank. Okay. Okay, I like Yanni is using head, which will give me the first 5 rows of data. So if I went like this, okay, I'm getting the first 6. It gives me just the beginning of the file. To be more explicit, if I wanted just the first 5 rows, I could use data, and then I use these square brackets, okay, because I'm working with what's called a data frame, which is a special type of data structure. And I'm saying I want the first 5 columns, 1 through 5, using the colon to say inclusive rows 1 through 5. And I want all columns. Good. Theophilus made it use the head function more specifically. So he did this. And I'm getting 6 though. Theophilus, are you? Oh, you're doing, I'm sorry, columns. Yeah. Not rows. So how would you do rows? So at this point, we've gone a little over, which usually happens, more because we're working hard. And the idea is that we're not supposed to get through every single exercise in these worksheets. Is that for you to kind of we've started session 2, and usually the idea is that you should continue on your own time. We've went through questions 1 and 2, so you have 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 to work through on your own. I want to thank everybody for your participation today. And, if you weren't participating, or if you felt like, things were going a little too slow for you or a little too fast, send me a note. Let me know. I like the feedback. And we always like to make these sessions really centered on what you need. I hope you got a little bit of practice in art today. And I hope it was a warm-up. And that was really the idea. Thank you, Albert. And let me know if you have any questions. I'll stay in line for a little bit longer. And we can have a discussion if you like. Otherwise, keep in touch and look forward to seeing you at the next live session. At that session, we will not be going over these exercises, but we can if you do have questions. But you'll have a new set of exercises that we can review. Okay, that will be more advanced. Okay, so I'm just going to officially say thank you and that the session is over. You can feel free to leave and or stay on the line if you have any questions. Thank you.
Hey, Kristen, it's Heidi. Are you there?
I am. Hi, Heidi.
Hey. So I was a little bit slower than everyone else, probably just because I'm such a newbie, but I was able to load the data in, and I noticed that I got the same error as a couple of other people where I probably did the wrong thing, where I opened the file first with Excel, and then once I loaded it into R, it had the strange characters. Is there a way to avoid that I missed?
So what you can do, I mean, you can just re-download the file, and that's a way that you can. So we know that you're starting with kind of like more of a clean file, like it didn't get saved by accident, and then just go through by using the import data set here with a button that I'm like highlighting with my mouse right now, and go through that step-by-step process so you can kind of see, you can actually look at the data as you import it.
Yeah, that's what I did after I opened it in Excel, and then it had all those funky things. So yeah, okay. Don't open, lesson learned, don't open anything in Excel first.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's I do this kind of on purpose because it is something that, you know, sometimes you think, okay, like I want to just get and start programming, but there are certain things that you kind of have to pay attention to in terms of how your file is formatted and other things. So totally fine. And I don't know if you've gotten to the lesson where you've been working with some other data and if you had that similar issues.
Yeah, not yet, but I'll get there.
Good. Well, let me know if you have any more questions. I appreciate your honesty too.
Hi, Kristen. Are you there? This is Chinmay here.
Hi, Chinmaya.
Yeah, hi. Not related to this, but basically when I was taking lesson number 2,
yes,
I think there was this example related to final grades, which basically considers the data mining grades and some letter grades. So, and I was trying to sort that particular thing in descending and ascending, but I was getting some strange error. Wait, I'll just. Yeah, I was getting this error. Is it that I have missed something? I have not created these as data frames and used a combine function because of that.
Okay, so this is interesting. Okay, so I want to go to the lesson right now. So first of all, do you have, when you type in final grades and show me the output, just type in the word final grades. Just want to make sure first that you've created that variable.
Yeah. But no, I have not stored that. I cleared my console. I don't have a track of the work.
Okay, so you're probably getting an error if you don't have the data created. So you don't have anything called final grades.
No, so final grades. What I'm doing is I'm combining data mining grades and the letter grade factor. So and then I'm trying to use this sort function.
No,
Is there a limitation of using this with sort function? Like, is there any restriction that I can't use it when I've combined the two vectors using a combine function or a cbind function, and I need to use this?
Okay, so you might be, so if you follow the lesson like explicitly, there's a little trick there with the cbind. What kind of function is cbind? What does cbind do?
So it would bring in the two vectors into a column format.
So here's the thing. But use the class function.
Okay.
Okay, say class and pass in final grades and tell me what you get.
Data frame.
Oh, it's a data frame. Okay. I wanted to make sure because the cbind function, which when you finish session 2, the exercise that we started working on today, it's a little bit of a trick. Cbind creates matrices. Okay. And you don't sort them the same way. Data.frame, which if you look on page 18 of your of the session 2, lesson 2 exactly, I talk about that. Data frame is actually where you can combine 2 vectors together to create a data frame. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're sorting based on
data frame. So with sort is to be used on a data frame, not on a matrix.
Exactly.
Okay, understood.
So that may be your problem if you're getting an error. Because I'm looking at your code, it looks like precisely what it should be. And if you're getting an error of that type, it might not be. It seems like that error is because it's you're passing in something. Maybe final data mining grades is a matrix. But check it out.
Yep.
And if you're still having problems, you send me your code. But this is the way this part is supposed to be tricky to kind of first not necessarily trust everything that you read. Okay, I found this cool thing. It combines 2 vectors together, this function called cbind. But as you read more about cbind, you'll see that that function is specifically for matrices. And so it's, there's a lot of information out there. It's about, so if I go cbind, see, I should get some documentation that I'm bringing up right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The help file. Okay. Fine. I'll go through that.
So if you want to combine the two vectors together, you want to make sure it's a data frame. I guess this is data mining grades that you want to be a data frame.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me know if you have more questions. Hope that helped.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Kristen.
Hi.
Hi, this is Bharat here. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Okay, thanks. A quick one. I was able to follow it was a very good session. I was able to follow until the importing the data, and after that I got lost a little bit. I thought I was just multitasking a bit. I think that was my.
No problem.
I had to respond.
Okay.
So yeah, I am actually. So I was looking for the actual Winters file at the time, and then later on figured it's in the materials, I could download it. But that's where I got slowed down. But until that point, I was able to be with you.
Okay, great. Yeah, I know we did that part, like 3-4 minutes, so that's expected. So are you, I just want to make sure that you feel comfortable importing data, basically. At this point.
In case I have any questions or so, I will be pinging you. But other than that, I think this is a recorded session. I will be able to play, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to post the recording. It takes probably like an hour and a half for it to like compress, and then I have to upload it. But yes, you'll be able to have access to that, of course.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Okay, I see a few more people on the line. I can wait and just see if there's any more questions.